Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wired Nerdy Podcast, episode number 33. 33, double clone digits there, my friend. How you doing, Doug?
Doing good. Exciting stuff to talk about today.
We got some cool stuff. So, yes, I am Keith. This is my good friend, Doug. We really appreciate you joining us for this episode. And, we've got a lot to cover and go over. It's kind of a fun episode, more whimsical, or we'll say playful. How's that? How's that sound? So,
Sounds great. I was going down this list getting ready for the podcast today, and it's just, oh, here's another idea. Here's another idea. So,
yeah.
our main topic today is going to be really good.
Yep, it really is. But as always, before we get to the main topic, news is a little light, but I think there's some pretty good stuff in here, though, for this week. So let's go ahead and cue up the nerd news.
Nerd News.
All right out the gate, Doug, I'm going to have you tackle the very first one there, which is not good news.
No, at least
Oh.
not good news for our friends up north in Canada. Disney is starting, just like Netflix, to crack down on password sharing. We had talked about this. I don't know exactly which podcast, but I'm against password sharing for, say, parents or families that have people in college or people away. Why crack down on their IP location or however they're using the algorithm to track these password shares? I'm just against it.
It's all about the
But
Benjamins. You know that.
yeah. Oh, yeah. But now Disney has joined Netflix, and it's going to start in Canada. And reading the article, it seems to be, just like a stern wag of the finger. They're not really going to crack down yet, but stricter implementations are coming.
Yeah, here's my thing on this. Like, I get why they want to do it. It's all about profits because if they can increase and get, to add a fee, that kind of a thing. I get it. However, my personal opinion, it should be enough that they're limiting the concurrent streams. Meaning
Yeah.
that if I give you my password and I'm watching something, if they limit that you can't have two things or you can only have two streams at once if you do have a family plan, that's fine. Because the reality is that most people are going to be watching TV around the same times in the evenings, and it's going to conflict and then pop up. I have that all the time on my Pandora because I use my account for our home Alexas, and when I'm driving, and if somebody's home and they're listening to music on the Alexas, it'll pop up in my car and say, "Hey, only one person can listen to music at a time." Blah blah. How is that not enough for the streaming services alone?
Yeah.
But again, it doesn't snag them more money unless they were to say, "Hey, if you want to stream more than one, you can give us a fee." I think that's a more fair
Yes.
way of going about this.
I
Yeah,
believe so as well. Yep.
yeah. So I'm with you. But everybody kind of anticipated. They said, Netflix is the one who would kind of lead the charge on that if it was successful for them. All the other streaming services would fall in line. So this isn't like uber surprising, but
hmm
still, it's one of those things.
Now, I guess the good thing to this is that Canada has not had that cheaper ad tier plan,
Mm,
so they will be getting that. So for those that don't care about or ads don't bother them, I guess you
hmm
could say, they now have an ad supported tier. It's a little bit cheaper for them every month.
and I don't mind ads on some. There's some services that we watch things on, and I really don't mind the ads. Are like literally 30 seconds to a minute. Some of them are
Yeah,
very short.
yeah,
And I think for our age, we grew up in the age where ads were 2 to 3, sometimes 4 minutes, depending on what you were watching. We were so used to ads. It drives, a lot of my kids. It drives them nuts. They don't like ads,
yeah.
but because I think the attention span's different. It doesn't bother me. But we have some services like Pluto, Tubi. There's a few other just the general free ones. And in fact, I'll give Amazon credit, like Amazon Prime. There's tons of stuff you can watch on there ad free, but they have full blown TV shows. My wife is huge into like old shows, like Little House on the
Mhm.
Prairies, The Walton. You can watch the entire known season, but it's got ads. Big deal.
Yeah,
She'll put it on the
yeah.
background while she's, doing stuff. So, yeah, I kind of like ad
Yeah,
supported one.
ads don't bother me. You say that. I watch some movies on YouTube with some ads. No big deal there. So
Yeah, yeah. You might want to pull your mic down just a smidge. I can't see your face. What are you doing there?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there you go. Now,
Hey, I like
hey,
that.
there he
I
is.
was trying to be Wilson from Home Improvement.
I was gonna say he's like he's hiding behind his mic. He's like, so if he says anything controversial,
Neighborly advice. There we go.
All right, well, let's keep on rock and rolling. I'm also gonna have you take the next one because I'm curious as to what you think about this.
Yeah, MetaQuest. So I talk a lot about Ready Player One. For those that don't know, it's a science fiction series about
This is a book
the
first.
a book first. Yep, about the VR world, and you put this headset in, and that's kind of a very basic definition. So going back to this, it's a new VR headset from the parent company of Facebook called Meta, META. They trying to be hip, I guess, in their old age here. It looks good. It looks kind of like the PlayStation View. It's got two controllers, a big old clunky headset.
It's better than it was, though. Some
It
of them really
does.
stuck
It
out
looks
pretty
good.
far.
Now, the thing I think everybody's waiting for, and we may not have it next year, we may not have it the year after, but the Apple Vision.
It's expensive,
So
though.
it's so expensive. I think its price point was $3,500, but it could
Yeah.
be wrong.
Yeah. Everybody says it's like freaking awesome, but for the price point, it better be awesome, you know?
Yep.
So, yeah.
But this thing looks good. I've messed with VR a couple times. It's cool. You know, inner ear problems and a hearing aid, it kind of makes me motion sick, just
That makes
like really
sense.
big TVs
Yeah.
and motion blur in video games and so on, so on. So,
Yeah. Well, my son has the Steam VR headset. It's very impressive. The biggest advantage, I would say, with the Meta Quest, what they've done is that with things like what my son has, you typically have to have a PC that drives the graphics and drives everything that you're seeing and the sound on it. The Quest can be plugged into a PC to get better fidelity, like higher resolution. But cool thing about it is that one, it and I'm talking about the prior Quest, even before the 3. You did not have to have a PC, so you could actually play it without being tethered to something. That's awesome for the free range of movement. So that's really cool for them. And then 2, they also do not require sensors around the room. My son's has sensors, and this is his second VR headset, so the sensors are getting less with those. So it's really cool, actually, in that it's the closest thing to untethering you from having to have sensors and all that. It's all encapsulated into the device, very getting close to the Ready Player One. What's interesting about this is that it's like they're incorporating augmented reality as well, AR. So it isn't just VR. Now the difference is that augmented reality, instead of having a complete and total virtual world, which is VR, the real world shows up. Like if you're looking at your coffee table, and then it overlays on top of it digital things, so you can play a game of Risk or Monopoly with fake stuff that's here. Minecraft. I think it was Microsoft HoloVision was one of the first ones to kind of do that. So it's interesting that they're blending this in. I did see a video this morning, believe it or not, that with the Meta Quest 3, one cool thing that you can do is, and they have these glasses called InReal that a lot of people are getting. You just put them on, they're pretty thin. And essentially it just shows you your TV in front of you virtually in augmented reality. The Quest can do that, but it has full integration into the Microsoft Xbox streaming ecosystem. So that if you are, you're in one of those plans for Game Pass, you can actually have Halo, as an example, streaming to the headset. But the thing is, it can be really big on anywhere in front of you, wherever you look. That's the TV virtually.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah.
So I like the innovation because Meta owns them. It used to be, and maybe there's a better way around. They forced you to have a Meta Facebook account, which I'm not on Facebook. So that's the thing that's always kind of turned me off. I get it that the parent company is a social media company, but I don't like the idea that they force you into having to be in their social media ecosystem for it. That's the downside. I get why, because they own them. So that's my one critique I don't like about it. But I'll say innovation wise and some of the things that they've been doing with lack of sensors, and I don't know, it's a cool device. I like the idea of being untethered and not having to have a PC. That's pretty cool. So those are my thoughts on it. So.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of I haven't messed with one a lot, and I think the sensors, now that's kind of for when you move around, right? Is that
Yep.
so you don't bump into the walls and stuff?
Well, it when you have the sensors, it contains you to a space. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Okay.
It does kind of map out the room so that it knows, but it limits you. With this, you can if you were in a warehouse with nothing around you, with the Meta Quest, you could pretty much just walk the length of the warehouse, and if the game had a walking mechanic in it, you could just keep going,
Oh,
right?
okay. Gotcha.
That's the advantage of not having sensors. So
Hmm.
so yeah.
Yep. I'm
Uh,
still looking forward. I know I keep bringing up Ready Player One, but just to me, that whole do whatever you want to do, be who you ever want to be is amazing. And then it also talks about in there, say you want to be in the eyes of a quarterback or a snowboarder or something. Now that would be awesome. So,
Yeah, that'd be cool just for experiences. I like to take it a step further for those that are disabled or
oh,
who
absolutely.
can't
Yeah.
travel. I've
Yes.
seen videos of them using this for elderly who maybe from a different country, but they're bedridden or they can't travel, and they will take and make a video and then put a VR headset on them, and it's like they can visit home again. I like the human aspect to it of how
Yes.
it can help people, as not just obviously experience really cool adventures that you probably wouldn't normally do in a safe way.
Mhm.
That I love the idea of using it for education, being able to visit. I mean, you can't take shoot with public schools, especially. It's like you can't even get a school bus anymore unless you're a sports team to like go visit a place like your local capital and do a tour. It's not like when we were younger.
Yeah.
This could enable, or some form of this could enable kids to be able to visit places and learn things as well. I don't know. I like the idea of how it can enable those that are less fortunate as well. So that's my 2 cents on
Absolutely.
it.
You bring up the education. It reminds me of Miss Frizzle, this is kind of Miss Frizzle on steroids. I think the possibilities for education are amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So,
All
yeah.
right, we can move on to our next one. Well, Doug, what year is it? It's the year 2023. What's the year of?
We got to talk
Hmm.
about AI, right?
Oh my goodness! It's our weekly AI talk.
We just need to make that a whole section.
It honestly is like a staple on its own.
Yeah.
So, geez, this week there's more announcements. Now, I do want to point out, I think there's going to be even more because the parent company, OpenAI of ChatGPT, is going to have some form of a conference in November, if I remember
Hmm.
correctly. I think it's around November
Yeah.
5th. I may be wrong on that. I'll have to double check. So I think there's going to be even more, announcements. Some people are anticipating the next revision, like ChatGPT number 5. We're on 4 right now. That's the one that shook
Oh
things
man.
up. However, this week, it was announced that around the 25th about new feature sets within ChatGPT. So, and it's funny that it kind of comes on the heels of the Microsoft event last week. When you keep in mind, Microsoft invested heavily in OpenAI, and ChatGPT is what's fusing Bing.
Yep.
And so they showed, oh, this is how we're going to do it with Copilot, and this is how we're going to do. You can create images, and we did one live on the episode last week where we actually did like a cat eating ice cream, cat eating pizza. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But now the actual language model can look at an image and understand it, so it can technically see. And you can talk to it for your searches, kind of like an assistant, which we knew it was going to go in that direction.
Mhm.
But the cool thing is, like an example that I saw was, let's say you're working on a bicycle and you want to know how to raise and lower the seat and you can't figure it out. And you're asking ChatGPT. You can take a picture of the bicycle and then essentially ask it, hey, how do I lower the seat on this? And then it'll tell you, give you instructions. And then let's say you're confused and you zoom in on this one, particular piece of the bike, and you can ask it, is this the flange piece? Is this the piece that needs to be adjusted? And it will understand or look at it and say yes or no. It's more to
Yeah.
the back of the bike. So think about that for a moment. You take a picture of something, send it to it, and then ask a question about it. So working on a car, working on a PC, even, like, where do I install my RAM? I mean, there's so many things that you could do if you really think about that. So I think we're going to see these gradual iterations of this, and it's both exciting and scary, like all at once. So
Oh, absolutely. You worry about AI with Terminator and other movies such as that, but I think there's hopefully a more positive effect than negative effect. Talking about the bicycle, I my previous house
oh,
I used YouTube to finish some wiring and drywall and stuff. It would be nice if I could take a picture of, say,
Hmm.
the circuit breaker and say, how do I safely connect all my wires to my circuit breaker? Something like that. So,
Yeah. And I found that video actually. It's embedded in the article where the
oh,
example where
awesome.
they actually circle. They actually circle in the picture what they're questioned about, and it understands that it was annotated. And it says, see there, it even responds it's like, no, that's not the lever. It's a bolt. You'll need
Yeah,
to, blah, blah,
it's
blah.
getting crazy. It's great.
So, I don't know, man. Oh, look, they even took a picture of their toolbox to ask
And
if they have the right tools. That's
yes.
cool. I mean,
Yeah,
normally
and if you,
I just call my brother. I guess
yeah,
Oh man, I
yeah,
don't
you
know.
have to test its response to your brother's response time.
I won't get the fun little comments from ChatGPT that
Right.
Brian gives us. See, AI can't replace
Yeah.
everything. So
No. Of like, well, why are you doing it that way?
yeah.
Hold on. Retrain it. Yeah.
No, I do think it has some awesome
Yeah.
applications. I mean, think about this in industries too. You have industries that are highly regulated. We need to be really, really careful, whether it's utility space, that kind of,
Mhm.
and they're doing maintenance and work all of the time. And I know that oftentimes they have what's called procedure use and adherence in a lot of utilities. So if you're working at a power plant and you're about to flip the valve on, something, you have to double check and check again to make sure it's the right valve because you don't want to break things and you don't want to cause a power outage. Think about this in that regard. If you take a picture of it and say, hey, is this the right valve? And it would be able,
Yeah.
especially if you had trained it. Of course, you would want that AI to be on a sovereign cloud or inside of its own air-gapped data center
Yes.
because that's the key part of it is not using public AI for that, but privatized AI, which is a whole other new thing that's going to be blowing up. Mark my words. So
Definitely. And I hate to
fascinating.
be that skeptic, but you see that ChatGPT has helped write college papers and stuff. When it comes to taking pictures like this, I just hope that we still have skilled labor, that we're not replacing our entire workforce in the next 5, 10, 20, 50 years, a bunch of robots. I worry about Wally and all of us drinking
Yeah.
big Slurpees and riding around in a lazy boy.
The death of human creativity is really a concern in that,
That's what I
and
worry about.
ingenuity, would you
Yeah.
say? I mean, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I think there's, as with any kind of a tool, there's good and there's bad with it. We'll see how this plays out. So, all right,
Pretty cool.
go on to our next one. Now, I'm not sure if you know this or not. Tomb Raider, which was originally a video game in the 90s, it has had movies before. Like there was a live action movie with Angelina
And
Jolie,
yep.
right? Yeah.
Mhm.
And they've rebooted it a few times in the video game space. However, Netflix is doing their own version of it, and they actually have a first look trailer that they've released. It's like it's animated, and it
Oh,
looks really, really good.
that looks very
Um,
nice. Yeah.
so yeah, it's definitely, I'd give it an anime style. I mean, that's it's pretty cool.
That's really popular right now. And I'm gonna butcher the name though. The pirate one something.
Oh yes, the one pirate. Yeah, I saw it on Netflix. It was originally an anime,
I
and they
think it's
made it a
doing
live
really
action.
well. Yeah.
Is it? See, they did that with, and I'm not an anime guy, so
Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop, and it's still on my list to watch.
Yes,
And
mine too.
people said it was good, but Netflix put a bullet in it. They canceled it, and so I don't know. It's
And it makes
mm,
you wonder if they set their viewer count so high that they're killing off shows that need a little time to grow, need a little time to gather the audience.
yeah, it's really hard to tell whenever they don't necessarily share, their analytic data.
Mhm.
And so I don't know, but it's one of those things though that it's kind of interesting because they also like DC is a great example. They have some anime style DC comics, like they redid the Killing Joke and quite a few others, and they're very, very good, but they're very adult. Just because they're cartoons, you watch them and they're dropping the F bomb, and it's kind of
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So, but they're really good stories. Dare would say that many of them are better than the live action ones that we've had at this point for DC. So it's an interesting medium that they're doing. I don't know. I'm all for it. I think it's cool. I'll
Yeah.
definitely check it out. So, all
All
right.
right.
Last
The next
one. Yeah, you
Yeah,
got this, man. Go ahead.
I was
I
gonna
know
say
you're
I got
excited.
this. Yeah. So we are at a new generation of a Raspberry Pi. And we've talked about it before, but for those listening, those watching, a Raspberry Pi essentially, and don't let me butcher this, is a small computer circuit board with some
Hmm.
USB ports, HDMI, power, some other outlets that you can almost do anything with. If you want to make an airplane or a science experiment, or what I mostly use it for, and I know you have one, your brother has made them, is for retro gaming or current gaming, and they work phenomenal.
Yep, you're spot on.
So the next generation, the Raspberry Pi 5 is out. I have a 4 in the arcade cabinet right behind me on my right, your left, I believe. The
Yep.
mirrors always trouble me. I
You
have
got
a
it.
Raspberry Pi 3 handheld. It works great. So I've had a couple generations. They've gotten better and better, and I'm sure this one is good. Looking down the list, it asks, or it not asks, it says that it boosts performance. It has some in-house silicone, which that seems to be the thing. Google is
Doing your own
making their
chips.
own silicone for their
Hmm.
phones. So it's
Well, you can
just,
customize it to what your
yeah.
needs are. Yeah.
It just seems that's the wave of the future. Is each company is going to keep it in-house. It probably keeps the cost lower. So.
Yeah. Raspberry Pis, they're a full blown computer about the size of a deck of cards.
Mhm.
And it originally started for like education and hobbyists, but oh my gosh, and I know you're right. Our experience has obviously been related to retro gaming and being able to do emulation, very small. That's it's crazy what you can do with them. However, um, these things, there's so many hobbyist projects you can do. Your own
Mm.
security system, your own VPN you can set up. You can have motion detection. It's like it even has extensions, little pin extensions you can see if you're watching on YouTube, on the picture here, or on Spotify, where you can connect other electronic devices, whether it's LED lights, sound, like little speakers. I mean, you
Mhm.
can do so many things. Some people do digital signage with these things. I mean, it doesn't end the amount of projects that you can do with these. And
No, not at all.
having the next iteration of this is really awesome. It's really cool for the video gaming because you can probably start running, like, I dare say, I don't know if you can, but I think the cap level, and I know Brian's going to be probably screaming at me if I get this wrong. You could do some PS2, right? But PS3 it
Mhm.
kind of choked, so you could do some Dreamcast, but it wasn't across the board. That was kind of the limiter of the latest 4 revision that they had.
Mhm.
This one can probably go higher than that. When you look at the specs on this thing, Raspberry Pi 5, I'll make sure I was about to say 4. Um, and that's the other thing. It's really cost effective. And for a while there was a run on them to where they were so popular they couldn't keep them in stock. So it says here it will come with a couple of different RAM options, which is normal at launch, costing $60 for the 4 gig of RAM, $80 for the 8 gig of RAM. That makes it slightly more expensive than the Raspberry Pi 4, which is priced at $55 for 4 gigs of RAM and $75 for 8 gigs. The Raspberry Pi 5 will become available for purchase at the end of October. Now, the biggest thing is it isn't just the RAM ratios they have. It talks about it can actually do 4K 60 frames a second HDMI port output now with HDR, which is high dynamic range lighting support. It has its standard micro SD slot, which is kind of its hard drive, think of it that way. It still has its USB ports. I'm honestly, that's nice. They changed the power to be USB-C, which is way better because they were using micro USB before. Uh, I wasn't a fan of that. That was kind of an older standard. So I'm glad that they're doing that. But the processor, I think, is the big bump up. With that homemade silicon that they have there, 64-bit ARM Cortex A76 processor. It runs at 2.4 gigahertz, allowing 2 to 3 times the performance boost when compared to the Raspberry Pi 4, which is about 4 years old. The device comes with an 800 megahertz video core graphics chip, which is the founder says it's a substantial uplift in graphics performance. So I am curious to run one of these things through the paces to see how it does in the emulation space. So,
Oh, absolutely. Now, if you want to throw that up there for our viewers, I put the official page in our chat.
oh yeah, let me grab that.
So, kind of going through here, it's got its standard cases. You can get all kinds of different cases for it. I've seen some that look like Super Nintendos, regular Nintendos, but just it's going to be very exciting. I'm definitely going to talk to your brother and say, hey, should we upgrade to this Raspberry Pi 5? Give me a little more power. Give me some newer games such as PS3s. The
Oh, that'd be cool.
Dreamcast has always had some issues, even though it's an older system.
Yeah.
But PS3 and the new Wii games.
GameCube.
So
Yeah.
say,
Maybe Borderline. It'd be awesome. You do some Xbox. The downside of that, of course, is once you get into those higher, you have to take the ROMs take up so much more space.
yes,
I mean,
yep.
you got to have monster storage. But hey, with all the port options that they have on this, you can definitely take advantage of that. So I think there's going to be a run on these. I think that I'm curious about supply issues. I think they just got done with having supply issues on the 4s. So I'm very curious about this and to see what's going to happen with the 5s, because I think they're going to have the same issue. These things are so popular, not just for gaming. I mean, people use them for
absolutely.
home projects. Dude, it's insane. Like if you ever
The
want
projects are endless. Yeah.
oh God, it's fun to go Google what people are doing with these devices just for home projects. I mean, it's insane. A lot of companies actually are using them. What's really cool is if you into virtual computing, meaning that you don't want to give your employees full blown virtual computers. Full blown physical computers. You can use virtual computers. With this can be a thin client. So all you do is smack it on the back of a monitor, and then your computer's streaming to you, your Windows or whatever.
That's really cool.
Yeah, just so many things you can do. These things it's a cool little project. Now, they're not the only ones. Because of their popularity, there's other variants that are not Pis that are out there. Some are Windows based, even that are almost just as small, just as powerful. But they're not at the price quotient. I mean, those are $150 to $200 in most cases. So it's hard to beat their price point that they reach. So, but yeah, this is exciting stuff.
Yep, really cool to see what happens in the future with that.
Exactly. All right, I'm gonna stop the share there. Let's talk about our main topic, Doug. Cue it up. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about all kinds of things. Before I reveal it, we announced this topic to each other this morning, and I thought, oh man, I'm gonna have trouble figuring it out. But then I got to the list, and it's just boom, 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 one after the other. So today's topic, we got a couple different little sections. First, I want to talk about tech in movies we wished was real. Our main topic is tech in movies we want to see in the future. But I think to do this justice, we got to start with what we wish was real,
Well, actually, what
or
did
what
become
did
real?
become real.
Yeah,
See, I'm getting confused. I'm so excited.
that's
There
all
you
right.
go.
It's in the morning. Doug's not. He's a night owl. He's.
I haven't been to sleep yet, so we'll skip that. So let's
So
start
yeah,
with tech that is real that was featured in the show. So
and it wasn't real at the time. Typically,
no.
yeah. So you go ahead and give it a start there first.
All right. So I'm going to start us way back. Obviously, not a TV show unless there's some science and history we don't know about, but all the way back in 10 BC. So that is 2032 years ago, if my math is correct. Thank you to a BC calculator on the internet. A guy by the name of Heron, I'm terrible at pronouncing names, of Alexandria
It's Heron. Yep.
invented a automatic door. So when I say automatic door, you go to the mall or the grocery store, these doors open automatically. We don't think about that. That's everyday life. But to think about back in the days of Alexandria and the Romans and the Greeks having an automatic door that opened up for you, I'm sure that was quite the luxury.
Oh yeah, I'm
So
sure it
I went
was.
way
That's pretty
back.
cool. You went way back. I didn't know when you put that on the list. I'm like, what the heck is that?
Yeah. So now to jump us up, we're going to talk real quickly about video calls, robot vacuums. The first video calls I could see were in 2001, A Space Odyssey, and The Jetsons. So Space Odyssey in 68, Jetsons in 1962. I mean, just think how crazy that was to people back then.
And they may have had it before then. There were some older ones. I mean, that's the ones that are most notable.
That's the most popular.
Yeah. Star Trek obviously is a big one, but they were on in the 60s, but I don't know if they were around. They were definitely on in 60. Yeah. Pre 68. So yeah, 'cause 66 is when we noted for the mobile phone. So, but yeah, video calling, man, that's been all over, whether it's Blade Runner or whether it's, I mean, that always seemed as a kid like, oh, that'd be so cool. And it's so weird. Now we can just do it. I can pull out my phone and do a FaceTime or whatever, or Zoom or whatever.
Yeah. And going down this list, a lot of these, I'm thinking, man, we really take these for granted that these are just everyday things.
Yep.
but it's crazy. So the next one, I think you put this on there, is robot vacuums, and I forgot about that. The
The Jetsons,
Jetsons.
Rosie, like she
Hmm.
like would go around vacuuming technically the Rosie the
Yep.
robot, but you also seen another. Yeah, now we have like robots that can actually do very basic things. They're obviously not sentient, but that's a big
Yeah.
thing.
Oh yeah. Keep going. Flying cars, AI assistants. I see a pattern definitely. 2001: Space Odyssey,
Yep,
Star Trek,
yep,
Jetsons, Blade Runner. All these movies in the 60s and 70s, 80s are revolutionary in their ideas and their technology that has become real.
yep. And many of them were driven by novels of the same era. And so it kind of permeated its way, it made its way into a lot of the films.
Mhm.
Um, we have. I like that you put for AI assistant. You noted Kit from Knight Rider, the car. That's actually
Oh
pretty
yeah,
good. Actually, that is
yeah,
kind of like that. But military drones.
yeah,
I think Terminator comes to mind for me, like from 1984, the original OG
yeah.
Terminator. And obviously we had drones and other things beside these. Um, Self-driving cars, which you mentioned, but I want to call out Total Recall, 1990. Now
Yeah.
that one was cool because it had a cool little robot in the front. Remember, he like ripped it out.
Spun his head around, talked to you. He's a
Yes.
taxi.
Yeah, that was awesome,
Yeah.
actually. I'm going to call this one out. Virtual clothes. Trying on virtual clothes. Have you ever watched Clueless? The main character,
Hmm.
Cher, she has this really amazing closet, and has a picture of her on the screen, and she can try on outfits. Dude, you could totally do that now. They have that
Yeah.
with mirrors that I've seen at CES and things like that.
Very
Um,
crazy.
Power exoskeletons. Now, this is something Aliens, that was a good call out. Ecelium,
Yep.
Edge of Tomorrow, which was another one with a great movie, by the way, with Tom Cruise and Olivia. Was it Emily Blunt? That was it.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so they do have this, though. I think you originally put it on the list of what we want, but they actually do have this. DARPA's worked on it. I saw a
Hmm.
demonstration when I was at CES. But the idea is now they're not like for battle combat yet. But they showed a situation where there was in the demo that I saw, and I personally saw this guy's wearing this exosuit and he had a box in front of him and it was super heavy. And he was just able to like lift it up like nothing,
Oh man.
and then they turned it off and he couldn't lift it as well. So like dock workers, warehouses, things like that to help prevent injury. So it is an actual thing. I'm pretty sure. I wouldn't doubt it if there's ever going to be there probably something for the military at some point. So yeah,
Yeah, talking about that, that would be very interesting because if you can imagine, say, like a Dollar General or a Walmart, just a big warehouse. But if you had a robot that could pick up really heavy stuff, but also scale up, like rise up and pick stuff up off a top shelf.
oh
I
yeah,
mean, think about how much faster possibly we could get our products.
yeah.
I mean, because everyone knows, and not to deny it, we all want our stuff now. You have 2 day shipping, 1 day shipping. So this, I think, will be in a future of just faster, faster, faster deliveries.
Well, and what's interesting is if you ever want a really cool thing to watch, check out Amazon's automated factories for their some of their facilities that they have
Oh, they're crazy.
for
Yeah.
order fulfillment. Yeah, those are all on like track systems, and
Hmm.
they essentially all these robots running all around with these bins, and they can go pick up stuff off of shelves, and
Yeah.
that the people are there are predominantly the ones that are just trying to keep things running. And so we're already doing that, and that's very sci-fi as well. That's not even one we have on the list, but that's a good one. So I think the overall point in starting with this is there are so many things that seemed way out there or very low, and they actually came to pass in some form or another. And that's just fascinating. The older I get, I'm just like, wow, I can't believe
Yeah.
where we've been, where are we going to go? I mean, especially it seems like it accelerates. I mean, just look at our conversation we're having about AI. It's accelerating so fast and what it can do versus 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, and to what extent. And so I think that's only going to accelerate to a certain point. So
Oh,
that
I
kind of
agree completely.
moves us into what do we want to see? Like, so there's always technologies now we may never see, but what do we want to see? So I'll have you go
Yeah.
first. I know you already mentioned it. You're
Yeah,
really
I got a
excited
little
about it.
tongue tied. We have so many things to talk about. So, tech I'd like to see, and I've said it multiple times, is Ready Player One. Just that totally immersive. I love video games. I love going on adventures safely in a video game. So, it'd be nice to do that. That would be really cool. going down the list, some of the things I listed, the make sure I say this right, the hydrator from Back to the Future.
Oh,
So Back
yes.
to the Future, if you remember, they put a little cube in this hydrator, but it makes a pizza. It sounds
Yes.
awesome.
That was
And
really
then
cool.
the replicator from Star Trek, so the same thing.
Dude, I love that. I love that. I
If
would
I
love to have a
could get a
replicator.
T-bone steak and fries and a soda,
You know how fat we'd be?
oh my gosh. Back to Wall-E, which I love that movie anyway, but
You know, there's a fun fact. This tells you what kind of a nerd I am. So hold on to your hat here.
okay.
So when I was a kid, I had these, they made these Star Trek engineering and physics manuals, and they were like drawings of the Enterprise. We're talking like the next generation. And
Yeah.
they explained the theory behind how the technologies would work. And I would read these things. I was so
Oh,
blown
that
away.
is crazy.
You know how replicators work? So they
No.
take all of the waste from the crew, and
Okay.
all of that matter is what's used to create anything you want out of a replicator.
Oh man. So somebody's leftover cheeseburger is my new
Yeah.
T-bone steak.
Earl Grey hot. That's somebody's pee. No.
Oh man.
I just
Well, I
ruined it.
mean,
I probably ruined it for you.
yeah. Oh
Well,
well.
so for me, one thing that I always wanted, and there was a myth there for a while, that remember, everybody, forgive me, this is pre-internet, so there's no way to double check things when I was a
Yeah.
kid. But the myth was that the hoverboard, the pink Barbie Mattel hoverboard,
Oh yeah.
in Back to the Future was real, and actually, they actually had it. And I remember, like, I was, oh man, it does exist, you know, and like it was a
Yeah.
whole thing. It was almost like a marketing aspect of it. It would be cool if it did exist. Now, I will say, I think it was about a year ago. They actually had Tony Hawk do it. Somebody made one. So technically exist. The real kicker I don't give it a plus on is the one in Back to the Future could go on any type of land, water. Well, he gets over the water and he does stall out in the movie.
Mhm.
Spoiler alert. Sorry, if you haven't seen it by now, you should see it. But the one that they created is just like it, and it works really, really well. Except it's all magnet based, and the ramp that they created was metal. And so they had Tony Hawk actually write. There's a video online, you can find it, and it's really cool. But you're restricted to only like on that surface. So I wanted one that was like the movie. So
Yeah.
that was one that I had in there that I really liked.
So I'm gonna jump back just a sec because you said hoverboards. The thing that I'm seeing a lot more, and it's getting better and better and better, is jetpacks. There
Oh
are
yeah.
actually jetpacks out there.
Oh yeah. And there's a couple different
Well,
versions of them too, aren't there?
yeah, one of the big companies I'm looking at is Jetpack Aviation. They've got this JB-10 jetpack, and it looks crazy.
Is this the one with the? Is it on their hands
Now,
or is
this
it
one looks a
on their
little
back?
fancier, and it's on their back. I've
I'll
seen
share it
another
here.
one where they put their entire hand in, kind of like Iron Man.
I've seen those. It's
But
not.
I know the military is really interested because they have shown soldiers going from ship to ship, and you can pull your hands out of that little jetpack and grab
Mhm.
your weapon really quick. So
Yeah, and the one that you know from Jetpack Aviation, they actually, it's like the Bond one, the James Bond ones. You know, he had
it
it on
looks
his back.
really cool.
Yeah, that's actually
I
a pretty
mean,
good
look at
call
that
out.
video; they are going fast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for those of you on audio only, we put up a video from Jetpack Aviation. You can go to their website and check it out, and they actually show people using it, and it's pretty impressive. I always worry about like burning my legs.
Oh,
You know, like
absolutely,
you
yeah.
got to wear something like I don't know because they show fire coming out of them. You know, I don't know.
Now, the other one, if you want to throw it up real quick, is called Gravity.co. And now that's the ones that go in your arms.
Oh,
And
okay.
their website looks amazing.
Oh yeah, they even have a fancy website. Look at that. Looks like
Yeah.
something out of Iron Man.
So to describe this for our audio only, you've got this guy in all black, these jetpack arms, really cool goggles, helmet, the whole works. He just looks like something out of Edge of Tomorrow or James Bond or some futuristic
And they
movie.
actually have flames coming out of the canister, the jets
Mhm.
on the arms. So
Yeah.
fascinating. Wow. Yeah.
Scary stuff. And
Yeah.
this is real. This isn't
Yeah.
we
This
wish it
is
would happen.
I
Yeah.
know. I know. That's a good call out. We should have had this on our own. I actually forgot about these. There's
All
always
right.
so many
So
developments. So
we're skipping around a lot today. We'll get back to on track here. One of the things you mentioned was the Men in Black memory flasher.
yeah. Wouldn't that be cool?
Man, That has to be in the proper hands,
Oh,
I
I
think.
totally agree. Oh my God. You can have so much
Uh,
fun with that.
oh, absolutely. The neuralizer. That's what I was looking up. So it's called the
Neuralizer.
neuralizer.
That's it. I can't remember its name, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
that'd be a good one. Back to Star Trek, transporters would be cool.
Oh, absolutely.
The thing about transporters, and they talked about this in the show, if you're a Trekkie, again, I read my books, they're kind of scary. It's part of the reason why Dr. McCoy, if you know any of the Star Trek, he didn't like them. And the reason why is the way that it actually works, it disassembles your atoms, sends it digitally to the location, and then reassembles you. And that's why he was always scared, because obviously he's a doctor. He just didn't trust it. And I kind of don't blame him. And then there's, of course, theories about, well, is that really you? You know, that kind of thing, and continuity. And they
Oh,
even
yeah.
did stuff on the show with that. So it's kind of a cool one, but a scary one. So
Now, the funny thing for that is Galaxy Quest, which I love. It's
yes,
kind of not a spoof of Star Trek,
it's a spoof.
but it's
I don't
yeah.
call it a
Okay.
spoof.
I was trying to give it its own little credit,
It's
but it
great though.
has a transporter mess up where you turn
Mhm.
inside out.
Yep,
So
that's where they
that's what
probably,
I would
yeah,
worry about big time.
exactly. All right, so
So,
running down the list here, we got to stay on our time here. Medical bays. I think this is great. This is a good one. You know, you mentioned Prometheus has one, Ecelium has one, Star Trek has med bays. I mean, really, just lay in a bed and it heals you. How awesome would that be?
and I think in the movie it was healing cancer and like
Oh yeah,
serious medical
broken
conditions. Yeah.
bones. I mean,
Hmm.
that would be a good one.
Yeah.
Um, I see you put headjacks. Learning how to fly, languages, martial arts, kind of like in the Matrix, right? Being able
Yeah.
just to
You just
download.
plug in
I
and
know kung fu.
yes.
Great scene in that movie. I put cryo chambers. So being able to freeze yourself and travel through space. Although cryo chambers also have a thing with the whole. Well, I mean, they froze Steve Rogers for Captain America. You know, if you have a cancer or something, a disease you don't know how to solve, you can freeze yourself till there is one. But that could get into some problems too. You know, like the world changes and that kind of stuff. There's some really good movies based on that. So, but I do think that it would be kind of cool. That would help space travel. If you can't figure out how to do faster than travel light, obviously cryo chambers is a way to go.
Okay. Real
So,
quick, I'm putting on my aluminum hat.
oh God, oh everybody, I'd like to introduce to you conspiracy theory, Doug.
So this reminds me of a conspiracy theory about Walt Disney's head being cryogenically frozen.
That's more of an urban legend, I would dare say. People do believe it. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's
All right.
a
I'm
good
getting
call
off
out.
topic this
No,
morning.
that's
So.
okay. That's a good one. What else here? I'll let you do the last two here before we get into the what wouldn't be bad, what wouldn't be good.
All right. So speeder bikes from Star Wars, really good. You know, watch out for trees.
Oh
Not
yeah,
good.
I know.
Yeah.
Let's ask the stormtroopers.
And then internal memory. So kind of a lesser known movie, Johnny Mnemonic, which
Keanu
Keanu
Reeves.
Reeves, great actor. He is a data heist guy, if that's or a cyber runner. I guess we can call him a cyber runner.
Yeah.
So he has internal memory in his brain. He can steal industry secrets, government secrets, put them in this little chip in his brain. But the problem with the movie is he got too much data and it corrupted his brain. He was about to stroke out. So
And what's scary about this, we were just talking about tech that came to be. Elon Musk has a Neuralink. It's an
yeah,
actual thing where they put
it
embedded
looks scary.
chips into your head and you can communicate the goal like telepathically. You can download information. So that one's kind of borderline of what they're working on. It's kind of scary. And on these, we're going to enter into our last phase here, which is cautionary tales. If you haven't watched it, Black Mirror on Netflix, I
Yes.
highly recommend it. It is essentially
Very
the
good show.
Twilight Zone for today's modern times, and oftentimes they're cautionary tales related to technology and being able to like download memories and things like that. The take on things. So you got to check it out if you haven't yet. I highly recommend it. So moving into dangerous tech. This is a very short list we have. I'm sure there's way more. There's lots we've missed here.
Oh yeah, this is
Um,
the highlights.
but you go ahead and take that first one there. It'd be cool too, but it would also be dangerous.
Yeah, this is dangerous tech that has not been invented, to my knowledge, that I don't think we should invent. And lightsabers is the top of the list.
Yeah, or they have it in a form, but it's not in the form that the movie has. I do know that somebody made like a plasma. It could cut, but it was tethered to like a cord. You know,
You got to
lightsabers.
carry a big battery pack.
All
It's not
kinds of
cool,
stuff. Yeah, but Yeah, you could definitely hurt somebody with a lightsaber if you cut
Yeah.
things.
There have been some memes online of you drop your lightsaber
Yeah,
and
and
when does it stop?
I know. There's
Yeah,
one
it's
with
like
Luke
keeps
when he
going.
first got handed lightsaber. He looks in the end of it, you know.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
full cloning. Now we can clone, and we clear this is a real thing. When I say full cloning, I'm talking full replicated humans. That could be scary. There's a
Well,
lot of
that's
sci-fi about living forever and just moving your consciousness from one clone to the next. But does the
mhm,
clone have a soul? I mean, it gets into a lot of ethical things on that, but that could go
yeah.
south very quickly, I would think. You get the next
Yep.
one.
Shout out for that real quick. If you have not watched The Sixth Day with Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Oh, it's a good
it's
movie.
all about cloning. It's a
Mhm.
really good movie, I think. Just
Yep.
kind of a quick cloning thing. The next one we go to is a Dream Machine, and I don't know if
Inception.
that's the name of it, but Inception.
It had a
You
fancy name.
know,
It's like the RXE something. Yeah, it was.
mhm.
But yeah, that would be
But
creepy.
just imagine kidnapping people in their dreams, stealing their secrets, stealing their passwords and stuff.
Uh,
To me, that's crazy. And dying in your sleep.
it's a great movie, though. I'll tell you what.
It is great.
Very,
Yep.
very heavy. It's deep. But it's good. Time Machine. Well, that's a well duh. Although Time Machine would be cool, but you could just
Yeah.
totally. That's one way to jack things up right away. Full blown androids. Now, when I say that, I mean like ones that you can't tell the difference between humans. This is Blade Runner
Mhm.
esque.
Oh, yes.
And maybe it's not a bad thing, but if they decide they want to full on, take us over like Westworld,
Yeah.
that
Not
could be
good.
bad.
Yeah.
And I know you're not going to like the last one that I put on here. So I started with the
Yep.
Matrix. When I say
I
the
know.
Matrix itself, I mean the virtual world but I went ahead and added the Oasis. The Oasis is what Doug was pontificating about what he absolutely wanted to have, which is like the VR headset and be able to do all these things. But the cautionary tale of the Oasis, if you've ever read the books, especially the movie dances on it, but the books really drill into society is rain to the ground. The world sucks. The weather's worse than it's ever been. No one has money. Everybody lives in like these stacked trailer park things. It's
Oh, yeah.
terrible. And the
Yeah.
whole thing about that is everybody would rather live in the Oasis than in the real world. And then everybody basically gives up on the real world because they're like, well, I can just, stay inside of the Oasis, and they just kind of check out. And so to me, that's a bad thing. That's a scary thing of VR when people choose to check out instead of actually live in the real world. So that's why I put it on there. I don't know if you agree with that
Yeah.
or not.
I do agree. I don't want it to distract from our everyday lives. There's no replacement, in my opinion, of the virtual world versus going and hiking in a national park, state park, local park, stuff like that. So, normal experiences with all the sights and sounds and smells that should never be replaced.
Yeah,
So,
I see you walking it back there. Yeah, I just think it's funny
yeah.
that you put it on the top of
Yeah.
the list of what you wanted, and I put on the list of that would be bad.
We need pros and cons. I like
There you
this.
go.
This
There
is
could be a
good.
pro and
Yeah.
con. So, and the thing
Yeah.
is, a lot of this stuff will probably happen whether we want it to or not.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
look at the Neuralink. I was just mentioning that.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right, man. That rounds us out at our episode number 33 here. We want to thank everybody for joining us. This was a fun conversation. We had a great time building this list. Obviously, we missed stuff because there's only so much time. There's so much more. I'm sure we could do like multiple episodes on this. I'm almost sure of it. So yeah, if there's more, feel free to put it in the comment section on YouTube or within our Spotify channel, and we'll definitely check those out because I know we missed stuff. So outside of that, Dougie, bring us home.
Yeah. Like, subscribe, buy a sweater. It's getting cold outside.
Oh yeah,
Leave those comments for us. We love comments. We've done a couple episodes just based on what the viewer or listener wants to hear about. So definitely let us know what we should talk about. We love getting together, talking about these things, and nerding out.
That's right. Everybody, thank you very much. Have an awesome week, and we will see you next time. Bye.
See ya.